Hello, everybody, and thanks for watching Richard Kohut's Reasonable Rants. This is episode 2. I think it is. I might record these and put them out of order, so I have absolutely no idea. Um, but yeah, this is my mini podcast, and yeah. So, this episode, I would like to talk about copyright. You say that word, and it has so much baggage that goes along with it. I wish it wasn't like that, but it is. And specifically, I want to talk about one thing with copyright, and that's, of course, what everyone has to talk about with copyright. Though there are other things that I'd like to talk about copyright, but those are other episodes. I'd like to talk about the notion of copyright versus piracy. Specifically, the legalities. Um, and of course, if you watch Frame Rate on the Twit network, this is absolutely, you'll find my statements are so in line with what Brian Brushwood thinks. It's ridiculous. You think I'm copying him, but I'm so not. Um, I actually only just learned that Brian Brushwood was libertarian, and I suddenly became an even bigger fan of him. Um, and now my former group of favorite people in the world used to be Penn and Adam Savage, and that was it. Now it's Penn Adam Savage, and Brian Brushwood. But but basically, I'm gonna talk about what copyright relates to, and this is after doing a little bit of research. Um, it, I am having to pull up a file because this is something that I started writing about for a blog post as a huge rant because this just pissed me off so much. When you think about um, when you think about what's going on right now, what basically the situation is with modern piracy, modern music piracy. Um, to say that it's going away is to be naive. It's to say that people do want to pay for their music at a reasonable price. It's tough to say that. I mean, I'm not of course I'm not advocating that you steal everything and don't pay artists. I think artists should get paid, but it's man, it's just a tough issue. But the big thing that I want to talk about though is what the modern legality is, and it's based off of penalties. Now, let me just say something real quick. If you haven't watched the documentary "Rip a Remix Manifesto," you have to do it. It's probably one of the best documentaries, best videos, period, out there about how stupid modern copyright law is and how stupid the idea of modern copyright is in general. Um, and it basically inspired me to do this little article that I did, and this train of thought that led me to do this. And the train of thought is basically this: after I heard about the from that film, the Capital versus Thomas case, which is the case in U.S. law that basically set the precedent for if you pirate music over the internet via either peer-to-peer sharing networks or some other way, illegally obtain music files off of the internet, what you are charged as. And I'm not going to reveal the results of that case yet, but the line of thought is that it's so ridiculous the way that basically the government has played into the hands, and there is no bones about this. There is no way to stretch the truth on this. Government has played into the hands of copyright holders, you know, completely unanimously. Every single time, no judges come up and really said what needs to be said, which is, look, you guys simply need to get with it. Times have changed. People are not going to buy CDs. You can't lock down your crap anymore. You can't do this anymore. We've moved on from this. Move along with us. Okay? We're not going to prop up your old industry any longer. That's what they should say, but they haven't. But basically, what I want to get to, and the line of thought is, once I heard about this case, I thought about how absolutely insane the results of the Capital versus Thomas case was. And I will admit I'm a bit ill prepared for this, and I do have to look up on Wikipedia right now the results of the Capitol versus Thomas case because I really I don't want to remember them. I actually do not want to remember them because they're that bad. But Wikipedia.org, and but basically, let me talk about the train of thought that I had. The train of thought that I had is basically that copyright law is the wrong thing to be suing these people under. These people who are file sharing are basically they're basically pirating music for themselves. They are taking music from the internet for their personal collection that they can listen to. They're not intending to resell this or redistribute it. The very, very worst is that these people are downloading this music so that they can use it in their own music video or something else, or use it in their amateur film. You know, all these different little uses that really, you know, it's not, I'm taking this music, burning my own bootleg CDs, and selling these CDs on the black market. That is, but basically, right now, the way copyright law is that there's no distinction between the two. Is that if the bottom line is if you're charged with a copyright violation crime, you're being charged as if, you know, to the maximum. You're being charged as if you took this file and you intended to mass distribute it over the black market, mass sell it over the black market. So let me just tell you right now, if we were actually, and people who do pirate music are criminals. I will make no bones about this. I mean, they're petty criminals, very petty, perhaps the pettiest of criminals, you know, besides people who steal stamps and things like that, you know, steal from a dollar store, but, you know, who hasn't pocketed a thing of Tic Tacs off of the grocery store shelf, you know? But basically, let me just put to you, and since this is different for every state, I'm just going to quote New Jersey because New Jersey is the state that I personally live in. These are the penalties for shoplifting in New Jersey, which is exactly what people are doing. The definition of shoplifting is basically taking from someone without paying for it in order to use that item for personal use. Or actually, you know, even that's wrong. I'm just bullshitting it out of my butthole here. Basically, shoplifting is what these people are doing when they pirate music off the internet. They're not setting up a whole distribution ring. They're just downloading. They're in effect, you know, and I completely disagree with this that they're stealing it. But basically, if you want to talk the strictest of strict legal terms, in my opinion, that's exactly what they're doing. Is they're just shoplifting music off the internet. If you really want to go that far, I think personally, file sharing is not illegal at all. Otherwise, you know, playing multiplayers on a video game should be illegal as well. Because, you know, after all, you bought that game for personal use. If anybody else used that video game, they're breaking the law. So hence, any multiplayer game is against the law in that logic. But that's a whole nother issue. Let me just continue on, try and not deviate too much. The penalties for shoplifting in New Jersey. Now, the grading and penalties. Under law, the grading of shoplifting is based on the full retail value of the merchandise taken. Consequently, shoplifting shall be charged in accordance with the full retail value of the merchandise taken, as provided in NJSA 2C:20-11. Under the statute, shoplifting offenses are graded as follows. Now, here are the actual penalties. Second degree. Shoplifting is a crime of the second degree if the full retail value of the merchandise was $75,000 or more. The crime of second degree is punishable by a term of imprisonment of 5 to 10 years and or a fine not to exceed $150,000 or both. Third degree. Shoplifting is a crime of the third degree if the full retail value exceeds $500 but is less than $75,000. That's a huge range, by the way, but it's what the law is. A crime of the third degree is punishable by a term of imprisonment of 3 to 5 years, a fine not to exceed $15,000, or both. Fourth degree. Shoplifting is a crime of the fourth degree if the full retail value of the merchandise was at least $200 but does not exceed $500. A crime of the fourth degree is punishable by a term of imprisonment not to exceed 18 months, a fine not to exceed $10,000, or both. Disorderly persons. This is your petty theft. Shoplifting is a disorderly persons offense if the full retail value is under $200. Again, this is your petty theft. This is what 90%, pretty much, and I'm just making that up, but pretty much what the majority of shoplifting cases are, is petty theft. A disorderly persons offense is punishable by a term of imprisonment not to exceed 6 months, a fine not to exceed $1,000, or both. Do you understand that? I'm gonna give you a moment to let that sink in. Imprisonment not to exceed 6 months, a fine not to exceed $1,000, or both. That means that you could either be charged with simply a fine, less than $1,000. You could spend some time in jail, no more than 6 months, or you could be put in jail for up to 6 months and fined up to $1,000 together. That is the absolute worst of what you can do for shoplifting something up to $200. Now, how much does an average CD cost that has 15 songs on it? 15 to 20 songs. Let's take an average number because they all vary. Some of them have like 10 songs or less. It's $10 basically. So, to reach that maximum of $200, you would steal 20 CDs. So, quick math, 20 CDs worth of 10 songs each on the low end is basically 2,000 songs. Okay. So if you shoplift 2,000 songs worth in CDs, your penalty is not to exceed $1,000 or 6 months in jail. Fair enough. 2,000 songs is a lot. Take a look at your iTunes and see how many songs you've bought. Or even better, take a look at your MP3 folder and see how many songs you've actually pirated, or things like that. I myself, my MP3 folder is actually not that big at all. It used to be much bigger, but really I don't listen to music that much anymore. So, opening up my MP3 folder, I basically have... Oh, and by the way I do my MP3s is I take them from CDs that I own and rip them myself. And what I have is Oh, and by the way, also half of my library is pretty much songs that I've... by other artists, not branded on CDs. Songs that the artists themselves have put out for free on YouTube or something, and I've ripped the YouTube off of. Or, things like mashups, which is an entirely different thing. But the bottom line is, opening up my MP3 file folder, I have 4,500 files. So assuming half of those are by artists that have, labels signed and CDs out, let's say 2,500 songs I've got. So, give or take, that's pretty much under the $200 level. That's the equivalent of petty theft if I had pirated all of my library, which of course I haven't. Now let's take a look at the results of the Capital versus Thomas case. This just pisses me off so much. She pirated 24 songs. She downloaded 24 songs off of the internet. That's the equivalent, by our estimates, of about 2 CDs worth of music. 2 CDs. $20 worth of music. That if she had shoplifted, she could have been fined a maximum of $1,000 or 6 months in jail. $20 worth of stuff is basically slap on the wrist worthy. If you brought $20 worth calls for a small claims court. It doesn't call for an actual, full trial where you would go, yes, this person stole $200 from me. This is, it's basically the amount where the judge would go, look, okay, you pay back double what this is, which is what I think is reasonable. If you get caught stealing something, you've got to pay for the value of it double. That sounds pretty fair to me. She was convicted of pirating 24 songs. This number just pisses me off so goddamn much. She was on her first trial, 4th of October 2007. She was found liable, and the award was statutory damages of $222,000, or the equivalent of $9,250 per song. That's just the first trial. That's only the first freaking trial. They had a retrial. It went to this second civil jury trial in the U.S. District Court, 15th to the 18th of June 2009. She was found liable again. Statutory damages were awarded. Oh, and by the way, it was because they didn't like the amount of statutory damages, whether it was too little or too much. So the retrial came, and she was found liable and awarded, the industry that is, was awarded statutory damages of $1,920,000, the equivalent of $80,000 per song. God, this boils my goddamn blood, and I'm trying not to yell that loudly because it freaking... The Chief Judge, Michael J. Davis, thank fuck for him, reduced the statutory damages to $54,000 total. $2,250 per song. The plaintiffs rejected this adjustment, because of course they would. Of course, Michael J. Davis said, and this is a direct quote from him, by the way, let me just find the direct quote, that the, was this... Hang on a second, let me see here. Motion for injunction retrial provides a reduction of damages. Here it is on Wikipedia. Also on July, Thomas Rassett filed a motion asserting the statutory damage award was so disproportionate to actual damage as to be unconstitutional, and announcing her intention to appeal two prior court orders permitting the plaintiffs to present certain evidence at trial. Look, the bottom line is, the judge basically said the original damage was monstrous and shocking. The plaintiffs rejected, of course, so it went to a third trial again to determine the statutory damages. And once again, in November of 2010, the statutory damages were found to be $1,500,000, or $62,500 per song. And once again, the judge reduced this to the constitutional maximum, by the way, of $54,000, or, again, the same $2,250 per song. If she had stolen all those songs by shoplifting them, she would only have had to pay $1,000 and spend 6 months in prison. $1,000 and 6 months in prison versus instead of $2,250 per song is twice as much as she could have legally been fined in New Jersey for shoplifting all of those songs. Does anybody else not see this as fucking insane? And that is what it was reduced to. That is reduced to. The judge reduced it to that. Jesus fucking Christ. I literally, I have to turn off the camera because I'm getting too goddamn pissed off at this. And I'm going to wake up my goddamn parents, and then they're going to get pissed off at me because I'm getting pissed off and yelling. For the online equivalent of shoplifting, they have been able to basically charge her and convict her to 54 times 54 times 520% of the legal maximum for physical shoplifting. And it's even worse because the thing is with those, it's statutory damages, which means essentially that they're damages that were projected. Fuck! She didn't even deprive them of anything. She didn't freaking deprive the recording art industry of a physical product known as a CD because she did it all digitally. She didn't deprive them of any bandwidth because she didn't download from them. She downloaded from a friend or some crap. She didn't deprive them of anything except for a potential sale. And even then, I'm going to make an entire video ranting about this, about how this potential sale, statutory damages, is complete crap anyways. But for fuck's sake, Jesus fucking Christ, if you want to find a song and pirate a song, go shoplift it. That's the lesson that they're trying to teach you here. Fuck! This has been Richard Kohut's Unreasonable Rants, Episode 2, apparently. I just had to get that off my chest because this is just fucking... It pisses me off so goddamn much, and you can see why. You can imagine why. So disproportionate and so goddamn... I can't talk about it anymore. Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry to end it on this note about you being pissed off, but we just need to fucking reform copyright law or just outright fucking get rid of it. Because it is not doing any fucking good, and I'll explain some of that more in a later rant. Thanks for watching.